Okay.
So let's get started then, so that
Okay. How about Mr. Motoko? Mr. Motoko, your colleagues. And this is Tao Chang, the director of UNESCO Institute IITE located in Moscow. I am so happy to meet all of you online. It's like a big UNESCO family gathering. We are gathering here for Africa. And this is the continuation of the previous seminar that happened on the 16th April, only less than 2 weeks ago, organized jointly by Nairobi office, Ms. Andres, UNESCO Institute Acaba, Ms. Yumiko, and UNESCO IITE. And this one, for this webinar, we have something new. First, we have concrete proposals from our partners. Today, we have 15 invited partners. Some are members of UNESCO Global Education Coalition, and some are not yet. They are willing to join UNESCO Coalition. And secondly, we have a much bigger team now from colleagues from other UN agencies in Africa, and particularly the big team from UNESCO headquarters and field office in Africa. I feel honored to have the two ADGs, namely Mrs. Stephanie Giannini, UNESCO ADG Education, and Mr. Ferrin Motoko, ADG PAX, with us today. So let's get started. We are going to introduce the speakers and the participants during our discussion and the webinar. Now, may I have the honor to firstly invite my boss, Mrs. Stefan Giannini, to first give his welcome remark. The screen is yours, Stephanie.
Thank you, Tao. Thank you, Anne-Thérèse, Edouard, Yumiko, all my colleagues, and thank you very much for this great initiative, and good afternoon to everybody, and especially the Global Education Coalition partners who you convened around the table. It's really a great pleasure for me to be connected virtually, of course, with you today. And let me say really a few words just to set a bit the scene and to see where we are and which kind of working together roadmap we have in front of us. I think that you know very well that the impact on education of this coronavirus crisis has been a huge one. Today, over 1.5 billion students from the early childhood to university level are out of the system because of the coronavirus. 63 million primary and secondary teachers, according to now our UNESCO numbers, are affected by this, you know, many times these days, unprecedented, really disruptive change, unprecedented situation, and the impact on education is really something that we never saw in the history. And so what we are doing, what UNESCO did from the very beginning of the crisis, we thought that we could really demonstrate how the UN system is there to give countries, governments, its own support. And UNESCO started to monitor numbers from the very beginning of the crisis. We are continuing to do that, and we focus very much on concrete actions, response solutions, trying to match country needs and our partners and ourselves, of course, expertise, competencies, and all the tools that governments need moving overnight from the traditional classroom to the virtual ones. And on the African continent, we know that the situation is no better than elsewhere. As for today, there are approximately 331 million children and the youth affected by school closures and the university closings, and about 10 million teachers which are affected by this new situation. And the claim, which can summarize better than any other words I could say, our mission is learning never stops. We started with a big campaign, a successful campaign up to now, which summarized the need we have to look first at the most disadvantaged children and communities. In order to do that, those who were already left behind will not left behind more after the crisis and during the crisis. As the initiative that we took as the UN Agency for Education has been about leading the global education response. It was about building a global education coalition to support countries and to dialogue permanently with ministers, educators, sharing information, expertise, and solutions. And bringing together as of today close to 100 multilateral agencies, no-profit organizations, civil society, and private sectors. This global coalition offers one unique platform to countries, to education community, and can really give an articulated response. And this is the hope and also the approach we have. I want to mention simply some objective, very clear. First, support the equitable continuation of learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is the what and the how of these days. Second, to ensure a full and equitable return to learning following the pandemic. We have just start to discuss about reopening schools in many countries. And this is the topic that ministers will address tomorrow in a meeting that we convened and that will be the opportunity to showcase also a joint framework that Unesco with UNICEF and the World Bank has prepared to give some guidelines that I'm sure governments will take as useful tools. Third point and last one is strengthen learning system for the future. You know that going back to maybe a new normal, as we say, we'll have some different challenges. Maybe we have some other new opportunities. We'll have learned some new lessons, and this is the job we are doing together. And the coalition will defend universal access and equitable solutions with a strong emphasis on support, tools, and services in a very concrete way. So it's not just responding to a global crisis, but building more resilient education system in the future and for the future. So what we are doing today, what we are doing together is discussing concrete initiatives that can give Africa a real concrete framework. I do appreciate very much my efforts and being so agile as we started to be from the very beginning to convene this meeting and present concrete solutions. So you remember, and I conclude really that the Secretary General started January this year to say, okay, now we'll have a decade for action, and we have to move to action completely to develop SDGs, especially SDG 4. And I think that today is really time to move to actions, to pool expertise, technology, resources, and also talent and competencies to help country design and deploy learning solutions. And also starting from today, rethinking a bit the system. I wish to thank really deeply once again Nairobi office, Anne-Thérèse, all the team for joining forces with Moscow. It's a bit easier now, no? To bring together from one capital to another one, and just moving from, I was in Morocco just 2 hours ago, and now I am going back to Paris, sorry, in a few minutes. And of course, Acaba, which is about the teachers, and you'll discuss about the teachers, I'm sure, very, very much. I think that this initiative simply exemplifies the spirit of the global coalition, and I hope that you all today will really pave the way. I'm sure that will pave the way for concrete collaboration and results. Thank you very much, and have a nice discussion, and see you soon in another virtual meeting very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Giannini, for your encouraging words and encouraging information, not just for today, but also for the nearest future when we welcome the reopen of all schools and universities. And thank you again. And now I see Mr. Motoko is online. Mr. Motoko, are you with us?
Okay, yes, good afternoon. Do you hear me?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, sorry, sorry. Don't look at the beach behind me, because this is just illusion.
That's a dream of all for all of us.
Yeah, the dream all over the soul.
Yeah.
Just to keep alive until the good time come back. So, I mean, I just want to be positive.
I love it.
Hi, Stefania. Good afternoon. We are in the same place, but we cannot meet each other. This is the reality we're living now today. So, but thank you again for inviting me to join you this afternoon. I think this is a very wonderful initiative, and we are all proud of this good collaboration between all field offices in Africa, the ITU, the headquarters, and also partners that are joining us this afternoon. So congratulations to you all for forging this coalition in Africa to support countries in addressing the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, in particular in the education sector. Beyond the education sector, we look at also the other sectors, and that's why I think that's what happens in the education sector will impact also on the other areas. It's important that we keep in mind that we are not working on isolation, and then education is very important. And if children get a good education, then they can be able to contribute to the achievement of the development goals of their country. As Stefania said, the school closure has left more than 300 million children out of school. And the poor connectivity and the existing digital divide and placed even greater challenges to Africa, that is already struggling with access to quality education at all levels. It jeopardizes even more the capacity of our countries to deliver on the SDGs and SDG 4 in particular, and the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. This coalition that you are forging shows that it is possible to overcome these challenges using TV, radio, offline, online, digital, and distance technology. We are now paving the way to improve education in the continent. As you know, Africa continues to be a priority for UNESCO, and all sectors are working hard to develop strategies to minimize the impact of this pandemic in the continent. We in the Africa Department, we stand ready to support you in this endeavor. Bringing partners like Curious Learning and others is one of the ways we have been contributing to this coalition. I want to thank again the education sector, Stefania, your team, Buren, who is working hard to support our field offices with his team at headquarters, colleagues from Africa, you, Tao, from Moscow, from the Institute, for bringing all together here and discuss this new way of advancing, of fighting the consequences of COVID-19 to the education sector. So I wish you a very successful discussion this afternoon, and we look forward to any recommendation or proposal for action that we may implement from headquarters. Thank you very much, Tao. Thank you. Thank you, Anne-Therese. I don't see you, but I know you are somewhere there.
Anne, please show up.
Aunties.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sister.
I started my video to say hello.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Motoko. We are all part of the team for Africa and the leadership of you and Stefania. Thank you so much. Now, may I give the floor, the screen to Andres. She's going to briefing us with the background and outcomes and more information about the partnership and beyond.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, Mr. Motoko. Unfortunately, SDG Education had already left us. All the directors from the various offices in Africa and headquarters, Boren and Douye, the other colleagues that have been part of this partnership from UNICEF, from African Union, IGAD, from all the development partners, the Plan International. I read those focal points that have been working with us until now. I also want to mention in particular the partnership that started from the very beginning, where we defined the 4 clusters. This particular cluster is just the teachers cluster. We have 3 other clusters, and there is the upcoming cluster on higher education and TVET. It's about to take off. Within this particular conversation, we had agreed that we must work together to mobilize more partners so that at least we go down to the country level. The consultation part at the regional level went very well, and it led to the development of a strategic paper. The strategic paper has been discussed at the level of, taken at the level of the RUNDG, that is the regional level, and we are on the verge of finalizing it with the Dakar office. Xavier and Dimitri have been working on getting it finalized. And presently, all the other partners have been given a copy to look at. We welcome any input. So please, it's not still late. We've not received any so far, which means probably you find it already, you know, what do you call it? Appropriate. However, I must admit that UNHCR has made some input, interesting input, which amplifies that aspect of humanitarian refugees, displaced persons, which probably was not as evident in the initial strategy. The strategy essentially has spelled out the fact that we have to go down to the country level, and at the country level, we are not supposed to really run a separate project. It's supposed to be built into the UNCT response plan. And for that, we are to write to we have written to some of the resident coordinator. We wrote also to the ministry, and we have started the launches. Let me just share with you that we were able to start with South Sudan. We are still waiting for other countries coming up. Uganda is lined up. We will look at it either tomorrow or Friday, depending on availability of some of you partners. We also on a number of other countries like Madagascar, Djibouti, Comoros in the Eastern Africa region. However, in the other regions, they have had from the different focal points indication that there's work going on. Let me also commend ADEA, because ADEA has done a study to look at the immediate response from member states. They've covered 12 countries, and tomorrow you are all invited, those who can make it, to the IGBA webinar. Yumiko also is doing a great job of ensuring that we have weekly webinars, inviting expertise across, and tomorrow would be a webinar looking at the use of technology in the education system, especially bringing out a study that has been undertaken by Yeah. And so this evening, I hope that we will hear from other partners that are going to accompany us down to the country level. UNICEF and Microsoft met with the Southern Africa team, and they are looking at, you know, creating a hub, a knowledge hub. But this is a conversation we can continue to have, because at the level of the Africa RUNDG, the UNDG, there's already a dimension of creating a hub. So this is something that we need to really flesh out so that we see how this partnership goes on with Microsoft. In Sudan, South Sudan, for instance, one thing that's been very clear is the fact that the density of radio and internet and mobile phone is not as high. So it's going to be a mix, a combination. So even as we look at e-learning, we have to bear in mind that most of the initiatives that governments have taken so far is limited to more of radio. But in South Sudan, it was clear that even the radios are not available for the young people, the children to use, the students to use. So even where they have it on the program, most students cannot. So linked to what Stefania has mentioned, linked to what SDG Max also had mentioned, we need to make sure that we don't leave anyone behind, and we need all of us. This is a real big push of all of the collective. In a collective manner, we are going to push down to the country level across Africa. And I would leave it at this and say, the only point I wanted to make was that, please, if you have any additional comments for the strategic paper, do so, because we have to finalize it and submit it to the RUNDG. The Secretary General of the United Nations would also be launching the COVID-19 for Africa, and e-learning is one of the areas for which they want to really, you know, set a flag. And if really this group has been working so hard to promote e-learning, we must really make sure that whatever is said, it reflects the priorities that have been set by this meeting, but also drawn from the global coalition, as we have heard from Stefania. Learning must not stop. And if learning should not stop, we therefore need to make sure that we all come together to really reach the last mile of those who have not been reached. I want to thank also UNV that's here. It's an additional partner that joined us, and they are going to put volunteers at our disposal across Africa. We also want to recognize the fact that from Bahrain, we had a recommendation for KPMG to join us pro bono and support the mobilization. So really, colleagues, I would really just hand over to Tao so that we hear from the partners. You've already received a table showing what they may bring to the meeting and what they can do at a country level. So it's to hear it from them, and from there, let's allow all of us to own the process and move together down to the country. It is a coalition, but we must remember when we get to the country, we are working within the parameters that have been set by the resident coordinator. Let me hand it over, Tao, so that you continue and invite the different partners. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Andres. You are an amazing partner, and without your very efficient coordination and hard work, this webinar and the joint actions could not be happening. And you are creating what we call Nairobi speed, and the big push for Africa together with all of us. Thank you very much. And before giving the screen to my colleagues, the directors from headquarters and the field offices, and now I would like to invite the partners of this meeting. And they worked very hard even before and particularly after the previous webinar. They are very prepared with concrete proposals for Africa. Now, may I first invite Mr. Chang the Secretary General of Chinese National Commission, who is mobilizing all possible resources for UNESCO and particularly for African region. The screen is yours, Ms. Chang.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. Your Excellency, Madame Giannini, and Mr. Motoko, and all dear colleagues, good evening. I'm very glad to join you in this webinar, especially in this critical moment. Following last webinar, I'm very glad to say we have a concrete action. We have a concrete outcome. So I'd like to thank IITE, thank UNESCO Nairobi office and Acaba and all of the partners. Your contribution to the joint action is very valuable. I think, as we know, in Africa, so many teachers and students, they stay out of the school. They left the school. Their learning and teaching was disrupted. We need to support them as soon as possible. So I think our joint action and all of the resources you provide is very valuable. Thank you. And I want to say, as you know, the Chinese National Commission will continue to support the joint action, to support the initiative, the coalition initiated by the UNESCO. And as you know, we support and all of the partners from China to join the action. I'm very glad to see so many partners from China joined the action and participated in these webinars. And last week, I'm glad we have two new partners will join the action. Last time, we have two new international MOOC platform online have launched. One is the Xuetang X, another is iCourse. The Xuetang X have nearly 3,000 courses online, and another iCourse have almost more than 300 courses online. Almost the course come from the top level university. So that's and covered the medical, engineering, science. So we hope they can benefit all of the African students and teachers. This week, on Thursday, Chinese National Commission will convene another partner webinar. We will communicate with all our partners to try to make our effort to raise the new resources to support African country and other developing country, especially the learning resources online. And at least I have a suggestion for our joint action. So I think we need much more resources online. We need to connect the resources to all of the African countries, to all of the partners. I think many African countries have their resources online. We need to connect it, all of these resources, to our action. So I think we need to invite the NetCom of African countries, the NetCom of national countries to join our action. We need to invite much more partners from other countries to join our action, to make our action open. And we need to increase our visibility of our action, to make all the African countries know this action, to know what we have, what we can provide, that especially for those teachers and students, to make them know we can, where they can get the resources, where they can get the training materials online. And I think IITE can play a very can play as a hub to establish a platform to connect it, all of these resources, to connect it, the resources with African countries. At least I'd like to thank you, thanks IITE, Mr. Dantao, Madam Anne, the director of Nairobi office, and the other colleagues and all of the partners. Chinese National Commission will continue to support this initiative to join the action. I hope and I believe our action will benefit the African countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jin. We can feel the strong support from you and your team. And thanks very much. Thank you very much for sharing the update, the information, and also your very concrete suggestions to us. Thank you very much. Now, may I invite, Mr. Toli Kubanov, as Anne just mentioned, he's representing UN, another UN organization, UN volunteer. The screen is yours, Mr. Kubanov.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tao, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, colleagues. I'm really happy to join this meeting. I'm speaking from the UNV headquarters here in Bonn. As you might know, UNV is a common service to the United Nations system. We serve all the UN agencies, funds, and programs in the UN Secretariat. As I speak, we have 8,000 UN volunteers working with agencies, funds, and programs in about 150 countries in the world. With the onset of the pandemic, we had to change the gears, and we had to meet the demand of the UN system for additional talent, additional brain and pair of hands who could support the work at the UN at the front lines, at the country level, as Antares had emphasized. And as I speak, every week we have about 100 UN volunteers joining UN operation or UN response in one country or another, working in close consultation with the Unesco offices, WHO offices, and the others. I'm happy to see that we have a background information shared. Most of the UN volunteers that are joining the UN right now during this last several weeks are specialists in the public health, in medical professions, but also on the generic occupational profiles such as information management, coordination, data analytics, community liaison, livelihood support. And as a common service to the UN system, UNV is working very closely with the 129 resident coordinators and with the resident coordinators' offices. So we are also aware of the emerging needs on the continent and beyond in additional resources, additional talent, more pertaining to the area of education. From what we hear based on our interactions with the UN country teams, there are two particularly urgent items where the UN, acting as a whole, is expected to step up and to strengthen our support to the member states and to the governments. One of them in setting up remote learning systems, as we are at the stage when the restrictions of travel lockdown is not envisaged in many countries anytime soon. There is ongoing interest and increasing by the interest in setting up the remote learning system, especially where the digital infrastructure allows that to work effectively. And secondly, we need a mechanism, our member states need a mechanism, and UN needs to support them in setting up a mechanism of the monitoring of the school closures and hopefully increasing the school openings as well. This is a very fluid terrain, the one in which our member states have to operate often with a lack of firm data because they cannot maintain contacts with some of the most remote locations and therefore they're often looking at the United Nations system in stepping up support for the monitoring of school closures and school openings. In that context, dear colleagues, I would like to commend in particular UNESCO in Africa under the inspiring leadership of Antares in putting together the strategic note that she had shared for the comments with the UN Development System that fully encapsulates all the needs of the member states at the country level and also propose some of the regional solutions. From the part of UNV, what we can offer by way of our humble contributions to the work of the UNESCO and the UN country teams on the continent is comprised of two areas. One, what we can do here and now, and second, what we can take offline, discuss with the country teams, with other partners in the coalition, and try to develop some tailored solutions over the course of weeks. What we can do right now is to leverage United Nations online volunteering service. As you can see, it's featured on the screen right on top, on the right hand. This is a service that is available to all the UN agencies, where anybody working in Moscow, in London, in Nairobi, in Dakar, can spare a few hours every week to deliver some tasks which are location neutral. And we live in the digital era. The list of location neutral tasks is growing by day. And as we look at the needs in Africa, for example, something such as setting up regional digital libraries or even country level digital libraries is an area of work where we do not need to hire an expert through a cumbersome process, but we can reach out and leverage the online volunteering platform to make it work for the UNESCO and the coalition partners here and now. If you go to the UNV website, you will see that already a number of partners within the United Nations system, among the member states, are using online volunteer platform for solutions such as curriculum design, online courses, video courses, so on and so forth. As you will see on the screen, online volunteers platform and the service comes at no cost. It is a service subsidized by UNV for the benefit of the UN agencies, the member states, and the non-governmental organizations. So we can use it right now for any immediate needs. This is a low-hanging fruit. It can be also helpful for UNESCO and for the coalition partners on the continent in reaching out through this platform to your private sector partners. Antares spoke about that. It is really remarkable how much work is being done in Africa on building these innovative partnerships between the United Nations system and the corporations such as Microsoft and Google. We can share the service with them so that their own staff, those who are locked down, those who are in the process of social distancing, they can spare their time through online volunteer platform to provide their services for those location neutral tasks for any UNESCO offices or other coalition partners around the world. So in terms of here and now, this is it. Online volunteers platform, it's easy to sign up, and UNV will be only delighted if this platform is leveraged to meet the urgent needs of the maintaining the educational services as much as possible in the current context on the continent. Secondly, what we can also do is develop tailored package solutions going forward where we could overcome the difficulties, especially in the digital divide and lack of digital infrastructure, by developing a package solutions whereby national volunteers or international volunteers outposted to the host governments at the national level, at the cabinet level, or the capital level rather, could also reach out and hire community volunteers at the municipal or provincial district level as appropriate, and thereby will have a cascading effect by having a contact with the communities, with the districts, with the remote areas, and making sure that the educational services are reactivated at the maximum speed, and there UN will be standing next to the governments. As Antares mentioned, we need to go to the country level, but even beyond, we need to go to the community level. We need to go hand in hand with our governments to support their work at the subnational level. So these are a couple of solutions. Mr. Tao, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tolly. Can you hear me? I'm on.
Yes,
okay, I'm online. Well. Thank you very much. Yes, for sharing information. We are very happy working together with you. And dear colleagues, as you can see, we prepared this PPT based on your feedback. in order to save time of our meeting. So now may I invite Mr. Lin Tuo Wu, representing Huawei, who is going to share with us the Huawei's concrete project for Africa. So for each speakers, I'm going to give you only 3 to 5 minutes so that we can have some time for Q&A. The screen is yours. Lin Tuo, go ahead.
Yeah.
Edward. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Zhao. My name is Lin Tuo Wu. I'm representing Huawei. I will simply go through just 2 slides. I will just give our update. So firstly, we have a Huawei Learn On program. This program basically have 4 pillars. The first one is we also call it Learning Never Stop, which is a program that we encourage teachers to bring their class online, and also we support the students. We also with the connectivity. We also offer them some data cards in cooperation with our carrier partners. And second part is we're also looking to build more learning resources. We believe that even after the pandemic, we also should take this opportunity to have sustainable like online resource available for all. This has already just been mentioned by Mr. Chang that in China, just today I also joined that launch of that 2 MOOC platform. It's very exciting news. The third part is for capacity building. Actually, for teachers' capacity building. We offered more than 100 online courses for actually ICT technology courses for teachers. On top of that, we really need to partner with all kinds of partners to jointly to make this program successful. Next page, please. Yeah. This is just some progress of what we are doing now in Africa for the Learn On project. We have now 13 countries who have started this like online classes. There are more than 50 classes now opening. And this is actually the teacher will give the theory learning or online, and also the student then they will have the lab exercise. Practical hands-on exercise is also available online. And after that learning, the student can also take the certification exam at home. We also have frequently have teachers webinars, to help the teacher to share their online education experience. Actually, just a few hours ago, I was in a Kenya teachers webinar, which bring me a lot of very impressive information. I just share of some of my very briefly my feeling that now, although the physical distance is bringing us apart, but the convenience of online education, also like this kind of webinar, really bring us very efficient communications from point to point. Without this kind of platform, I can never imagine before that I can meet so many different partners at the same time in such a efficient communication way. Yeah. There are now also we have a outstanding instructor award for the South Africa already. We have now selected like 5 excellent teachers already from Kenya, from Zambia, a lot of them. Next, we will also have some online webcasting for these teachers. Those class that's coming soon. So this is briefly what we have progressed in the past 2-3 weeks. You can see the number of students is also now more than 3,000 enrolled already, and we target for more. is ongoing. I also would like to take this opportunity to say that now we are also trying to build up the education resource. I'm in contact with a few colleagues. I also see already Sanjay from COL. We are also in discussion on whether to how we contribute more for the OER initiatives. Yeah, and for the connectivity part, we have been just by the end of last week. We are talking with Dhaka office with Mr. Dimitri, and also with Brian from the head office, and we are discussing to give support for teachers and students in Senegal. That program is progressing. I think very soon we'll have some concrete results. That's briefly my updates. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wu, for your very comprehensive information, not just about what you are doing at the moment, but also a picture for the future projects for Africa. Thank you. And now may I invite Ms. Elena Tarasova, representing Hamban Mohammed Smart University based in Dubai.
Good evening, dear colleagues. It is our big pleasure to represent Hamdan bin Mohammed Smart University today at the meeting. And first of all, please let me forward the kind regards of Dr. Mansour Alawar, the Chancellor of HBMSU. Unfortunately, he could not join you today, but he sent his best wishes to Your Excellencies SDGs, Ms. Stefania Giannini and Mr. Motoko, and also, of course, to Ms. Anteres and Prof. Tao and all the colleagues from UNESCO and the UN agencies, and best wishes for the productive discussion. So as presented earlier, HBMSU proposed two initiatives, two resources that we would be glad to share with our African colleagues and teachers in African region. First is online crash courses that were specifically developed by HBMSU for this emergency to help teachers to shift to remote working. So the crash courses are available in multiple languages. Thanks to our colleagues from Unesco IT, we developed the Russian version, and also the English, French, Arabic, and Spanish versions are available. And here in the Arab regions, they have been very successful, helping more than 100,000 teachers. The second proposal was the webinars to be conducted by HBMSU for the university teachers, as well as probably high school teachers would be interested on the topics of smart education and quality management and excellence. And referring to the first proposal, it is worth highlighting that even though we indicated some countries as targeted, we would be more than happy to share the course with all other countries identified by our colleagues from Nairobi office. There is no obstacle not to scale it up. The course is completely online. I shared some technicalities, but of course, it is online, so it requires the access, but the speeds, the requirements for it, it's only 2 megabytes per second, so it's quite low. And we piloted here in the Arab region quite successfully. So there is no limit for the dates as well. The most important, of course, is not to lose the momentum. That was the success factor here in the UAE, together with the support of the Ministry of Education. So we're very grateful to Ms. Anteres for already contacting the focal points and the ministers in the countries, because we believe it's one of the important measures. It's already established the contacts with the ministries together with the schools. And here I would like also to share some updates as a successful factor that helped us with the Russian school teachers. Last week, UNESCO IT conducted this webinar for the UNESCO associated schools in Russia. And after the webinar, when the information about the resources were shared, the number of teachers that access the courses increased by 4 times. So we believe that this is really important tactics, is actually to reach out for the teachers and schools themselves. If we can utilize the UNESCO networks, that probably would be this success factor. So now in Russia, we have more than 1,000 teachers registered. Of course, it's not that many as in Arab region, but it's just the beginning. So another thing that we would like to highlight, that of course the timing is very crucial. So if we can now start reaching out the schools itself, while the teachers are actually in need of the learning tools, how to shift to online learning, we believe it's a really great that the speed was set up by Ms. Andres on how to communicate and how to work. And we should not lose this momentum. We're ready and our resources are ready for use. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elena, and for the very encouraging progress in such a short period of time. And also congratulations to you and Dr. Mansour on becoming the new member of UNESCO Global Education Coalition. Thank you very much. And now may I invite Dr. Sanjaya, representing CORE, who is going to offer a big package of resources for Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Tao. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Sanjay Mishra. At the outset, I would like to share the greetings and congratulations from Professor Asa Kanwar, Chief Executive Officer and President of Commonwealth of Learning. We are very excited to be part of this coalition, and specifically targeted approach to reach out to countries to support during this current crisis. As many of you may be knowing, COL is already taking steps in use of open distance learning and open educational resources. We have several initiatives which are in progress, but specifically we are very much committed for this partnership to support Africa by providing specific solutions which will be scalable and useful to countries, especially in the Commonwealth countries, but these resources can also be scaled up to other non-Commonwealth countries. Like we have the platform called MOOC for Development, which is a MOOC platform. We can offer courses using this platform. We have several resources on teacher capacity building, which one of the models is the school-based teacher development. And we have curated resources on a device called Aptus. The Aptus device is a mix of a hard disk and a server by which it connects to other devices through a local area network and shares educational resources. So I think these are some of the important tools and resources that we have. And we have been offering, currently we have been offering 3 courses which are ongoing. 2 in collaboration with Athabasca University on Introduction to Technology Enabled Learning. A MOOC is in progress, and another one in Blended Learning is in progress. We are going to start a course on OER and copyright in collaboration with ICDE and OER Foundation New Zealand, which is going to start on 5th of May. Currently, we are running a series of workshops, webinar-based workshop, where participants from all over the world are joining to learn about online learning. So with our expertise on open and distance learning and online learning, I think we are well placed, and we are happy to be part of this coalition to support African countries during this period of crisis. We have also a resource on OER courses on Tibet and higher education on our platform. Most of these things can be very well repurposed and used in different conditions and situations. Only yesterday we released 12 videos on online learning, which has been prepared by Dr. Tony Bates, a leading online learning expert in the world. We are going to release this as also a small certificate course that can be taken by any teachers from anywhere soon. But these videos are already on our YouTube channel that can be used. So I think with this brief, I would like to stop here, but I would like to highlight my colleague. I'm just stepping in to another colleague who is busy currently in consultation with our 19 Commonwealth African countries to develop strategies for the current situation. They are talking to the government officials of 19 countries currently. Therefore, I am stepping in as a substitute to represent in this very significant meeting that is going on for supporting African nations for during the crisis. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I look forward to concrete work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay, for managing to join us, and we wish you a prompt recovery, and we are encouraged by the very concrete proposals you are offering to Africa. Thank you very much. And now may I invite another UNESCO, the member of UNESCO Global Coalition, GOGO, Mr. Stuart McLaughlin, who is now with us for the very first time. Last time we missed him. And the screen is yours, Stuart.
Great, thank you very much, Tao, and hello everybody. Nice to meet you, and apologies for missing last week's session where my colleagues Jem and Biggie joined. I think who clearly have Biggie is based in the markets. As you can oversee here, we've continued to develop the Teach from Home hub. I mean, I think one thing I would say is, the hub is the Teach from Home hub, which, to be clear, is a hub. It's not a platform. All it is doing, and I think others, Huawei, I think we're very similarly, it's about kind of putting all the information in one place that can be accessed by teachers effectively and easily. Is now live in 40 languages around the world, and has been accessed by over 5 million users. So that hub and platform, I think, has sort of demonstrated that need in terms of understanding the complex world of resources that are there. And when we were completing some of the great structures that Natalia and Tao from IT put together, one thing that was is very clear to us, and looking again at some of our colleagues in other organizations, is to some extent the availability of tools and platforms isn't necessarily the hurdle. The issue is around the knowledge and understanding of where and how to apply these. And so I think all of these hubs are valuable and useful resources, whether it be from ourselves or Microsoft or Facebook or Huawei or others in that space. And perhaps UNESCO through IIT and through the Global Coalition somewhere along the line can push us all along to work collaboratively on something that brings that together. As you'll see here, I mean, this really is an oversight of some of the hubs that the things we have. I think the guy spoke to you about last week around the specific aspects of Teach from Home. The pieces that I would add in there is extensive, and I've been talking to a lot of colleagues since, and again, Tao and Talia at IIT have been pushing us a lot on teacher skills, and we've been working on reviewing a lot of the teacher center materials to make sure they are accessible and useful locally. and pushing that insofar as we can. The targeted countries, in terms of where we have our kind of major operations in sub-Saharan Africa or Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa, because the tools are not limited to those locations, they are available in multiple locations. One final thing I would say, you say to some extent the platforms are not the issues, you know, and one thing that I mentioned very early on to my colleagues, and one thing I hope for this this project and for the coalition more broadly with Unesco is when IIT and Unesco and ourselves started talking, it was relatively early on in the kind of Europe wave of this crisis. And actually the conversation started at exactly the point where I said to my colleagues who were designing the hub, you do realize there are as many children out of education now because of this crisis as there are out of education all the time. And I think one of the things that I'm making sure that we talk to our colleagues around and push our colleagues to do is to think about what the legacy is from these resources. And I very much congratulate and welcome the work by UNESCO on the coalition and by IIT on this work to use this as a forcing moment for many organizations to think about how we apply in the region. Say, from my perspective, just to pick up on one other comment earlier around volunteers, we are working a lot with Google Volunteers. It's mainly in other markets, but I think that model that was highlighted earlier could be interesting in terms of if we can bring those volunteer skills typically from other regions, because we have less employees in sub-Saharan Africa, but where we can bring those and apply them, that's certainly something we could look at. So yeah, the materials are here. More than happy to share individually or more widely, but thank you very much both to IIT and to the Global Coalition more broadly on the work on pulling this together and helping us kind of push forward our solutions in the region to support teachers. One final piece is through the Global Coalition, we're also looking at some issues around connectivity, not something that Google specializes in or can help in specifically, but I would love to work with some of the partners to think about how we can make moves that help with some of the access and connectivity aspects as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart, for sharing with us further information, particularly on the hub and the resources you are creating for not just Africa, but we hope that through working together with colleagues in Africa, we can make this hub and your resources accessible and benefit more teachers and students, particularly during the crisis. Thank you very much. Now it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Adam Sado, representing Facebook, another member of UNESCO Global Education Coalition. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Zhao. Again, my name is Adam Seldo. I'm representing Facebook, and it's our pleasure to join the Global Coalition for Education with UNESCO. And a couple of very concrete things that we would like to share today is that we are the tools that most of your ministries already use. And we have a lot of examples of how these tools are used to support teaching and learning in the sub-Saharan African region. And we have a page that puts all these resources together listed at the top here, education.fb.com. And I'll highlight a couple of things today. First of all, Facebook Live, when you just pick up your mobile phone and go live, has a number of ways to stream lessons and even more ways to consume them. You don't even need a Facebook account to watch a Facebook Live. So there's numerous examples of where we're bringing the classroom home through not only Facebook Live, but Instagram, IGTV Live as well, which is a great way to reach students. Workplace, if you can imagine a private version of Facebook, that's what it is. Ministries of Education use Workplace, which is their own version of Facebook, to connect with their teachers, to conduct training and professional development. We have a great example of this in Edo, Nigeria, where the Universal Board of Basic Education brought together thousands of teachers and connected them with the ministry to share resources in a way that the teachers were already familiar with using the apps because it looks and feels just like Facebook. In addition to that, everybody here probably already uses WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a great example of how it's a very lightweight and simple way to connect people with information. And this is no different from ministries of education. In fact, we're looking for large ministries of education who want to build through WhatsApp and disseminate information to your education communities. We have a great example of this with the World Health Organization, where they've used WhatsApp's business API to develop a bot or an automated way to connect people with accurate health information about COVID. And so we're looking to replicate that success with ministries of education who want to connect their learning communities with information about teaching, learning, and even health information regarding COVID via WhatsApp. Finally, as we all know, it's not just about the teaching and learning in a situation such as this. It's about preserving the student's well-being and dealing with feelings of loneliness and isolation and all the other things that accompany not being able to congregate or get together in person. We have resources called Get Digital, where there are a bunch of teacher lessons and parent and student resources dealing with the very real issue of loneliness and staying well in this situation, emotionally as well as physically. And so these things are available throughout the continent of Africa. We're interested in working with ministries in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, South Africa, but we're open to discussions with more. So thank you again, Dr. Zhan, for this opportunity, and again, excited to be a member of the Global Coalition for Education.
Thank you very much, Adam, and IIT is very delighted to be a partner with you, particularly you just mentioned this Get Digital resources and also many others. I can see a great potential for you to reach out to more teachers and students in Africa. And also we had quite a lot of email exchanges with my colleagues at headquarters, particularly with Bahrain. Now we are all on the same screen at the same time. Thank you very much, Adam. Now, may I invite Mr. Sendai, the Deputy, the Senior Vice President of Weidong Crowd Group. Mr. Sen is also based in Paris. Go ahead, Mr. Sen.
Thank you, Dr. Zhan. Yeah. So again, I'm very happy to participate in this meeting after last meeting. Now, as you know, Weidong Cloud Education is a key partner of UNESCO, and we are very glad, very happy, and very honored to join Global Education Coalition at the very first stage, early stage. So now we will provide other supports, very concrete supports to this initiative. Of course, we covered with UNESCO headquarters and also with IHE and also with IIT. So during this period, first of all, we would like to provide our Weidong learning management system. So it's our homemade platform. And now we put also a virtual class solution with this platform. So this platform could be used by universities, by schools, and also by regional education management system. And not just for single schools, but also could be used by several schools to share their materials and also their learning resources. So for this period, we can provide this platform to many countries in Africa and also in Asia area. And after that, we can assist all these schools and universities to continue to use this platform. Beside the platform, we can also provide, of course, training materials and the training contents. As you know, we are really lucky because we have our training company Demos, who is the #2 training companies in Europe, and also we have Brest Business School in higher education area. So that's why we are really glad to also provide some contents in this area. So first of all, for Brest Business School, we can provide our training for digital trainers. It's very important because we believe that all trainers, all teachers, they need also some training materials to themselves before they train their students. So that's why we set up from many years several modules now in this area to help trainers, of course, traditional and classic trainers, to set up their training materials for online training sessions. Besides, after that, we would like to provide 3 online executive master. All these masters are recognized by French government, so it's official diploma training, and we are very glad to provide some scholarship to all universities, partners of UNESCO regional office, and they can select their best students to benefit all these high quality degree programs. And of course, after that, with these universities, we can continue our cooperation to provide more modules in this area in several domains like logistics, like finance, and also like internal control. For demos, as you know, we have many corporate as our customers in France, in UK, and also in Germany, and also in US. So we have French and also English and also Spanish, Portugal, third courses in this area. Of course, most of them are in soft skills training, and also we can give all this free access training materials during the pandemic. And last but not least, in Switzerland, we have our office for project management training materials and mutual language also, and also can help all students and also perhaps other professional people to prepare PMI and PMP exam. As you know, project management is a very key skills for the future. And of course, beside all this platform and also training materials, training contents, we are very glad also to provide materials and also devices. So after last year, we worked very closely with IT and the leadership of Dr. Li Ming, who is the chief of this IT center. We already implemented 6 smart classroom solutions, in 6 countries. And this year, we will do it again in other 6 countries. And also with IT and the leadership of Dr. Chang, we also are preparing to provide in 6 countries for vocational training system. And also we prepared several thousands smart learning devices like a smartphone and also other devices as part. We have intention to send them to Nairobi UNESCO office, and we let them to distribute in several countries. Of course, Africa countries, Asia countries are our first targets to help them, and also we are open to help any single country if they would like to benefit our solutions. Thank you, Dr. Chang.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shen. And Wei Dong is also another member of UNESCO Global Coordination. We are very much encouraged by your very comprehensive and concrete package designed for Africa. Thank you very much. And now I'm delighted to invite Mr. Arunav, representing Coursera.
Thanks, Tao. It's a pleasure to be here, and it is such an honor to join the UNESCO Coalition for Education. I wanted to talk about a few specific initiatives that we took in response to the coronavirus pandemic and how it is disrupting institutions around the world. So number one is the Campus Response Initiative, which is basically about helping all universities in the world, including universities in Africa, to teach their displaced students. So under this initiative, we are going to make our entire catalog, almost 4,000 courses across all disciplines, available to all institutions to give it free to their students. Not only that, what we have also done is to make another machine learning solution available so that curation becomes very easy for schools and universities, so they don't have to spend a lot of time looking for what is best match for their own curriculum. So that's something which is available now, and we have already seen 3,000 universities and institutions around the world taking up and signing up for this, and we already have almost 500,000 students already on the platform through this initiative. So we are very happy to make this available in Africa as well, and there are many courses available in different languages. The other one is the Workforce Recovery Initiative, which we launched last Friday, which is essentially to help governments respond to the unemployment crisis. As you can imagine, the slowdown in economy is causing a lot of abrupt disruption, and a lot of people are rendered unemployed. So we launched this initiative where governments themselves can give the entire catalog to people who want to upskill and get back into jobs pretty swiftly. So this is available, and we launched this with 3 states in the US, which is Illinois, Arizona, and Indiana, as well as 7 countries worldwide. And we expect many more countries to be available over the next few days. In addition, I would also recommend signing up for a lot of free courses that we have made available for students worldwide, which is a lot of free courses for high schoolers, a lot of for college students. All of them are available on our blog site as well, and we have made them available to the UNESCO team. And finally, we are also publishing a white paper in HBR, Harvard Business Review, in partnership with Michigan Imperial College of London and Duke University, on how institutions, especially colleges and universities, can actually respond to COVID-19 and accelerate their digital transformation. So this entire toolkit will be available pretty soon. It will be published on HBR, and again, we will share this through the UNESCO team with the entire African community. Thank you, Tao.
Thank you very much, Aruna, for a very exciting package for Africa, and we are still discussing on even further packages in the near future. Thank you very much. Yeah, and now it's my pleasure to invite Professor Lee, representing the director of UNESCO Category 2 Center for Higher Education Innovation. Professor Lee is leading a team participating in the webinar. The floor is yours, Professor Lee.
Greetings to all from UNESCO IT. We are a UNESCO IT team, and thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to reintroducing IIOE, International Institute of Online Education. IIOE was co-launched on the cloud by UNESCO IT with its 11 universities in Africa and Asia Pacific in April 2020. And among these 11 universities, there are 7 leading universities from 7 African countries. And these 7 universities are Addis Ababa University in Ethiopia, Ahmadu Bello University in Nigeria, Ain Shams University in Egypt, Makerere University in Uganda, University of Djibouti in Djibouti, University of the Gambia in Gambia, and University of Nairobi in Kenya. By now, IIOE has organized a series of IIOE webinars for higher education teachers to support them to use ICT to enable and continue teaching under the coronavirus pandemic. And by now, IIOE has organized 2 English webinars and 1 French webinar for more than 90 universities in more than 30 countries, and with around 900 higher education teachers attending our webinars. And apart from providing free online trainings for higher education teachers to develop the professional capacities and especially ICT-related competencies, IIOE is also a free online learning platform for higher education teachers in Africa and Asia Pacific countries. An IIOE platform is deployed on the cloud and hosts free quality online courses, online assessment, and of course supports online training. And by now, IIOE has mobilized and hosts more than 100 ICT-related courses and is working with international organizations and the platforms to mobilize French courses in ICT-related disciplines. So IIOE don't offer degrees for students, but certificates for teachers based on the ICT competencies that are most needed by higher education teachers. IIOE even though ILE was launched and being operational under the coronavirus pandemic, but ILE is a long-term initiative and will continue its functioning after the coronavirus pandemic for its partner universities in Africa and Asia Pacific region. So as UNESCO's Category 2 Center in Higher Education, UNESCO IT seeks to establish a partnership with UNESCO's regional offices in Africa to promote and implement IIOE in more African countries. And in 2020, IT would like to, there will be 8 more countries in Africa who will join IIOE. And these 8 countries are Côte d'Ivoire, Malawi, Mali, Namibia, Niger, Senegal, Togo, and Zambia. So UNESCO IT would like to work with UNESCO IT would like to work with UNESCO regional offices in Africa to select in each of these 8 countries 1 university to establish a long-term partnership to implement IIOE. And it is to be noted why IT would like to select 1 university in this country to make this year. IT would like to make this university as a base in this country to help more universities in this country to benefit from IIOE. So I would also like to draw your kind attention is IIOE partner universities will not only benefit from IIOE's free online courses, online assessment, and online training. The implementation of IIOE in partner higher education institutions will also be supported by the establishment of smart classroom in all IIOE partner universities. And by now, IIOE has established or is establishing smart classroom in all its 7 partner universities in Africa. And these smart classrooms are sponsored by Chinese educational enterprises called Weidong Cloud Education Group and Create View. And we are very happy that Weidong Cloud Education is also here online today with us. And in this year, IT will continue to work with Weidong Cloud Education Group and other Chinese enterprises to establish smart classroom in these 8 universities in Africa. And thank you very much. This is my brief presentation.
Thank you very much, Professor Lee and your team. And thanks for the ambitious plan for future to extend your alliance to 8 new countries in Africa, and collaboration with Weidong is also a good example of collaborations among ourselves. Now it's my pleasure to invite Professor Huang Ronghuai, who is the director of another Category 2 UNESCO Center, Ying Road, based in Beijing. Professor Huang, please.
Yes, Mr. Tao, my dear colleagues, good afternoon and good evening. I'm happy to join this webinar on behalf of UNESCO International Research and Training Center for Education and the Smart Learning Institute of Beijing University as well. Actually, we have close cooperation and relations with ECOB and Unesco. Actually, for Africa, there are 3 kinds of effort we can contribute. That is knowledge, expertise, and resources. The first effort we can contribute is our knowledge. Actually, we published some guidance and handbook series. The first handbook is a handbook on facilitating flexible learning during educational disruption for regional, based on the Chinese experience for the countries and regions how to organize flexible learning. The second one is guidance on active learning at home during educational disruption. The third one is guidance on flexible learning during campus classes for higher education, just published these days. Actually, the coming guidance will be guidance on organizing flexible learning for K-12 teachers, including online learning, audio video materials, and the printed textbooks. The second effort we can contribute is our expertise. Actually, we are going to launch a project with IITE Actually, that is a training and the certification platform for digital skills and the digital citizenship, including how to train in and the certificate into the privacy and the data security. The set effect we can contribute is our resources from perspective of OER. Actually, at the very stage of COVID-19 outbreak, actually we provide some COVID knowledge posters published at the Unesco website, and they published in Facebook and some social networking platform. Actually, we can cooperate with our partner, NetDragon. Actually, is a company, international company, and they own the international platform Edmodo. Actually, we can use Edmodo classroom, Edmodo community, and their teachers. And also, we have a lot of OER resources with multiple languages for various courses and subjects. So our initiative is incorporated with NetDragon. We promise to our African friends we are willing to select the same resources for free and provide services to utilize the free tools and the platform during the educational disruption. Thank you, Tao.
Thank you very much, Professor Huang, and we really enjoy working together with you on a number of joint projects. I think these publications can offer support to teachers and students in African region. Thank you very much. And NetDragon will talk about afterwards shortly. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to invite a particular partner, Star Times, who is working with the television-based education projects. And Miss Meng, the floor is yours. The screen is for you.
Okay, thanks for the invitation, and Dr. Zhang, and also greetings to Anne and also other participants. So for Star Times, since we have already operating in Africa for over 10 years, and we have already developed over 30 million subscribers, and currently our involvement in the educational field in two dimensions. First, as a signal transmission platform, we have already carried several local educational channels in order to enable the kids in Africa to continue their learning during the pandemic. And meanwhile, also as a TV operator, we're also preparing our own learning channel. So, and this channel is targeting the audience, the K-12 stage students, and which is aging from 6 to 18 years old. And the combination of the contents will be both local and also international. So currently we do have some challenges in seeking the international contents. We have approached our international partner like BBC and Discovery and also Fox. However, because of this kind of coronavirus, the efficiency is really, the response is quite slow, and the efficiency is not very positive. So I'm thinking that whether we can also take advantage of this opportunity to see whether UNESCO can help us, or maybe to approach some international educational institutions and to offer some educational resources, or maybe training course or maybe learning courses to us, because the advantage of Star Times is that we have the platform ready, and also different from other participants is that it's not online platform, it's TV platform. I think now the TV platform is more suitable for African students, and also because we plan to launch this channel on educational channels in the upcoming May, and we plan to target both the Francophone speaking countries and also the Anglo speaking countries. So we are still, proactively preparing for that, and we do hope that if the maybe some other participants during this webinar could also, if you have some available resources, you are also most welcome to approach us. Yeah, this is what I would like to share with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Meng. We know StarTimes has a very ambitious plan to launch the free education channel for Africa, but now you need more resources, and my colleague Andres and other colleagues, they are trying to help you, and I think it's a nice opportunity for other partners of UNESCO to join force and work together with you to make this free educational channel happening as early as possible. And you said the efficiency is normally low, but however, within us, among us, the efficiency is particularly higher than normal during the COVID-19. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. And in addition to the partners who participated in the previous webinar, today we also have some new partners. Now it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Christian Naker, representing Curious Learning. He's going to share his project for Africa. Mr. Naker?
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Curious Learning, we started with a mission, which was to give everyone the opportunity to learn how to read. And from that, it really became, it started with a question, which was, you know, can children learn to read on their own on a mobile device? And so far, we've had an incredible journey over the last 10 years, researching and developing, and a significant amount of that together with UNESCO, who are partners of the Global Learning X Prize in Tanzania. And that's what led us to have our relationship with UNESCO. What we've learned is that if we want to use apps for learning in Africa, particularly for early learning, it has to be focused on low-end smartphones, has to be free and open source, and we have to avoid any distractions such as advertising and in-app purchases. And that's the kind of, you know, tenets of what we've built with. In doing that, we've been able to localize our fundamentals app into 48 different languages, and that was already part of a project together with UNESCO, and that was being done together with the PAX team. And what has happened with COVID-19 is essentially we are accelerating a lot of what we were working on. And one of those pieces, which is very much focused on the teachers aspect of it, is we have a teacher development app. And that is designed to do two things. One is help teachers with in-service training, essentially the science of how the brain learns how to read, so very much focused on early learning. And then secondly is how to use technology for this purpose, and how children can learn on apps in support of what they would learn in school. An interesting component of this is once you get enough data from learner performance, it can inform what you focus your teacher training on, and it can also inform what teachers focus their interventions on with their learners. So we're very excited to be part of this coalition, and certainly want to lean our weight behind the rest of the team. And we see a specific role for us because we focus so much on early learning. You know, it's sort of 3 to 8 year olds who need this gateway to engage with all of this incredible content that's being pulled together for learning on the continent. So I thank you for your time and for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Naker, and for sharing your project, particularly focusing on early education. It's a special area of education, and which needs a special attention and contribution from us. Thank you very much. Now, may I invite another new partner, that is NetDragon. May I have Ms. Lin representing NetDragon?
Actually, I'm Mr. Chen. I'm Michael.
Ah, sorry. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Chen.
Okay, I represent NetDragon.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so NetDragon actually is one of the leading education technology company now in the world, where also have been working with African countries for some time. So we are now actually contributing 4 different solutions to this project. First of all, we are going to give Edmodo, one of the largest online learning community in the world, as our free solution to individual users. So you can see that actually there are more than 19 languages versions now, and it is recommended by UNESCO for distance learning, and it is chosen as Egyptian's MOE as the designated online learning platform in Egypt, specifically during this outbreak. So we believe that this is a very good LMS for both the teachers and also for institutions. You can use this platform for personal development, for training, for resources sharing. It is really useful. And the second solution actually is our tools for lesson delivery and lesson preparation. It is also free for individual users, and it can be used either for lesson preparation and delivery. It combines the conventional way of preparation, but also with more 3D resources and many very good tools for interaction, for exercise. Even now, during this pandemic, we developed a very really new functionality that teachers can use even mobile phone to record very interactive lessons to send to students. Also, you can use these tools to assign your homework. And now it has more than 11 languages. Another functionality, I mean the capacity is called AI teaching. It's really brand new methods to blend with AI avatar teaching lessons combined with real teachers. It can be very quickly to convert our teaching plan into a live lessons, and especially very handy for African countries because it is video. So we would like perhaps to talk with Star Times to quickly produce quality contents for students and learners in African countries. And last one actually it's a total solution. We call it pop-up classroom. Actually, it is a very quickly constructed classroom made by container to meet very urgent teaching requirements. But it is equipped with very advanced teaching equipment and software and platform and content. It can be used separately offline if everything is downloaded beforehand, or it can be connected to cloud platform for enhanced services. So those are just very, we just select some of our solutions specifically for this project, and I hope that more discussion can be held with either our partners or some more of the governments or who would like to work with us. So thank you, Dr. Zhang.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chen. Though it's the first time we learn about NetDragon's technology and its products, it's really exciting that you already have a concrete plan for Africa. We would very much expect what will be happening through working together with you. And dear colleagues, the last but absolutely not the least, and even one of the most important partners with UNESCO is Microsoft. Now it's my pleasure to represent, to invite Microsoft. Sorry, I do not have the update information. Who is going to speak?
Jay.
Yes, go ahead. Hello? Anyone representing Microsoft?
Actually, Jay had a problem,
Okay. So in this case, after all the presentation of our partners with a massive package of concrete proposals for Africa, now I'd like to give the floor back to Antares, who is going to moderate the next session, the next part, with remarks of the directors and the Q&A. And may I give the floor, the screen back to you?
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pity we couldn't get Jay, but Jay was trying to join. If Andrew is on the line, probably Andrew can try to link up with Jay so that he joins, because we have a reduced number now. Thank you so very much to all those who have presented. You will all agree with me, for our colleagues and other partners that have joined this webinar, that we really have a rich menu of possible solutions. And it would require, as one of you said, greater collaboration, especially when we get down to the country level. We really need to get to another stage where we will have to discuss, based on the various targeted countries that have been shared, where we will really get some of these interventions. I also have heard, like I said, we have a second cluster, which is the cluster for higher education and TVET. And there are some who specifically spoke to higher education and TVET. So let us hope that following this meeting, we will be able to really identify the various partners who would work in certain areas. But before I hand over the floor also, I want to underscore that everything is not just you know, the software, the tools. We also want to also make sure that we leave no one behind. And I like the last solution that talked about pop-up classrooms, which could work offline. We have certain countries that I have not seen reflected who are really in need as well, and for such interventions. So that also is another area we will discuss. And but before going any further, if some of my colleagues, regional directors are online, I will be coming to them also, because they have a wide menu. Now it's for them to choose and take it down to the country level. But we had agreed that 2 people would speak, and then we move on to the regional. And first, we will invite Boren. Boren is really a solid support for the initiative in Africa. And he also may have his perspective, after which I will open it up. Igba was also trying to join. I don't know whether they are now online, but let's have Boren, then we go to Yumiko, and we take each of our regional directors, if they are still around. UNICEF has already left the meeting, and then we open for questions, because there are some questions that have been coming up for partners to respond. Okay.
We also have Mr. Duye. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Yeah, okay. Duye, we can go down to that as well. Okay, first, Boren from headquarters, and then we come down.
Thank you very much, Anne, and thank you to all colleagues who made the presentation. As you said, it's very rich menu, and the question is, of course, how this will meet with the country needs, and how we turn this offer into more demand-driven approach. I think we have probably 4 actions that we would need to take, I believe. One is how we can make all these proposals and resources put together, and that can be searched and browsed and can be filtered as well, so that the countries and colleagues can be easily use them and identify them. I think this is something that we can do from the work that you started doing, and from the support that we can get from the Global Coalition. The second aspect that is important is, I believe, how we can ensure the capacities at the country level and institutional home that will be the ones where these activities can be rolled out and can be engaged, and colleagues, I believe, from the region, directors and field offices will be able to refer to that. Third is how to ensure that this is not just delivering training, but building capacities at the country level, because this is something that we would like long-standing and long-lasting investment that would be made. colleagues shared a bit their product and resources. The question is, of course, for how long and how much this will take to get these implementation and the work to be done. And maybe two last points from me, Anne-Thérèse and Tao, not being very long. One is that obviously to deliver this, we will need other partners from the global coalition. For example, we need partners who can bring connectivity, others who can bring probably devices, or other partners that we will need to mobilize. And I think this is something that we can do within the global coalition and map based on the country needs, what are the additional resources that will be needed to deliver based on the proposal that we have heard now. Maybe last point that will be important is not coming in the presentation, I think will be very critical, is we would like also to create local operators who can develop these technological solutions, who can create growth and economic employment and capacities at the country level. So it's important to see in the business model how we can support local startups, local organization and enterprises in the tech education industry who can support and will invest further in more long-lasting investment and long-lasting impact in the country. But I think we have really great opportunity. We have a great resources. The question is how we move to the country level and how to ensure that these meets the country level, and we can mobilize additional partners from the global coalition that can reinforce pool resources and mutually deliver on the ground. Back to you. Thank you, Andres, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I really would like to underscore the point about the connectivity. We need those partners. I think it's only Google who's mentioned about connectivity, and they are ready. So we need to look at more of those that would be interested in that. And the other issue also is the fact of the devices. Already I mentioned, like in South Sudan, they ask for radios, transistor radios. Others are really asking for smartphones. You also would have situations where we may have to get teachers with iPads. You know, we need to begin to look at all of this. And so ideas in this regard would be important. But let me underscore the issue about the startups. This would really very much be part of the TVET cluster. But it's a very good point to underscore. Igba was not able to join. Unfortunately, I got a message. But let me ask Mr. Du, you can make your very quick statement. If Igba can still come, then we go down to our regional directors and other partners.
So thank you, Anne. I will be very, very brief. Since all this afternoon, all our partners bring their very rich menu of the resources. So I learn a lot. I'm very inspired. But now I think since we have already this list of the resources, now we need the balance is the list of the actions, as Mr. Borin just mentioned, said, and you also emphasize, is how the teachers, how the students can get access to all these resources. That need really the very hard work. It's the role of the UNESCO. The role of UNESCO is especially the role of the director of the field offices. How we can bridge this, you see, the bridge, the national needs and international resources. If we say the resources will not be resources if the teachers and the children cannot benefit from it. It's why. So I want to stop here. I'm ready to work with you how we can bring all these resources to organize, even coordinate to benefit the children and the teachers. And the actions will be more important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's where the rubber would hit the road, because we must bring it down to the country, and the countries are waiting. Yeah. The directors are all there to take up this challenge. Now it's over to them. They must choose the countries, they must identify the needs, and they must together mobilize the resources. My co-convener is for coordinating education in Africa is Dimitri with a smile. So Dimitri, let me start with Dimitri and then we continue. I see Salah is ready, really wondering how is it going to happen. So we will hear from Salah, and I saw Ido at some point. Ido's picture is not there, but this is where the rubber hits the road. How do we make all these resources come to the countries? Over to you, Dimitri.
And Therese, thank you very much, and thank you to all colleagues who made this happen, as well as our partners. You saw me smiling because this sounds like music in my ears. You and myself, we are sitting in UN SDG. We have put this issue of reaching out to children out of school up there. So it's on the desk of the DSG. So we need to deliver. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to move from the continental to the country level. 3 points I would like to make, very quick one. The first one is that this is the time for us to move from talk to action on the ground, because this coalition that has been built at the global level, we made sure in our region, at least we started with, of course, Senegal, where we are based. The minister is eager to start, is really eager to see action on the ground. I'm very fortunate enough to have Huawei and Microsoft already working with us. And then within the UN family as well, we have the UNICEF, UNHCR, ITU, and so on. We are ready to go on the ground. I've received already calls from the Gambia, from Cabo Verde, from Mali, from Burkina Faso. So it will come in and in once they have looked at our strategy. So it is time for us to gather with the partners to move from talk to action. Second, with the principle of leaving no one behind. It's not only about the children themselves or teachers, but also countries. Most of the names I heard today are the majority in English-speaking countries. We don't need to be seen to be biased towards English-speaking countries. We need also to apply that principle of leaving no one behind, to bring also this, I'm talking to partners here, as well to French-speaking countries and Portuguese-speaking countries. These Lusophone countries, we have 5 of them on the continent. So let's look at that. Last and not least, I think the starting point is what Boren referred to. We need to take this variety, this very rich a number of initiative offers that we have onto a repository so that we can know which countries can benefit from what and so on, so that we can start doing our work on the ground. So again, thank you very much. We are all in this, and let's translate this into action on the ground. Thank you very much.
They're great points. Yes, action man, we are ready to go. Salah, and I take the point that it has to be more than just English. And I think there are some offer for lots of other languages. Salah, over to you, and then Ido in that order.
Yes, thank you so much, Therese, and thank you so much, Tao, and all the partners and all the colleagues who have made this possible. This is really a beautiful dream come true. And this is the realization that in practical terms of what we used to say, that this, in spite of the crisis that we are living, the COVID-19 has created a golden opportunity for us now to come together and capitalize on all the opportunities now to create a better future on the medium and long term, to solve problems of access, equity, and the possibility of training teachers massively, which is a big need in our region here in Central Africa, for example. I really push and reiterate the call of my colleague Dimitri to go into action now. We are ready to do it. The governments are now ready to move immediately, and as Dimitri said, they are all pushing us here in the Central Africa region. We covered 10 countries. They are all eager to move right now. So this is a golden opportunity we should capitalize on. the point also that was already raised, we heard beautiful initiatives, but it's all English language based for the English part of Africa. In my region, for example, here in Central Africa, I have the Portuguese 2 countries. I have Spanish, Guinea Equatorial. In Cameroon, I have English and French. And in Chad, we even have French and Arabic. So we really need to see who would like to express their interest to cover all this array of different languages and diversity that we have. As I said, we have a very diverse context in the region that we have here, in terms not only now the crisis of today, but we were already living a crisis security-wise, conflicts-wise, Boko Haram, Anglophone region in Cameroon, all crises that prevented children from school, and this is now the opportunity to overcome all of those challenges together. So I really call on this, and we need to focus on teachers specifically. The region needs massive amounts of numbers of teachers now, and we will really go for solutions in that sense. We have the digital gap, of course, a country like Chad, where there is no connectivity almost in 90% of the country's extent, and there we need solutions to work offline, and I know that there are technical solutions for that as well. So we are welcoming all of you, and I think we will organize a similar event to this one and invite all the ministers of education and their teams to connect with you directly in a similar kind of event for all the Francophone, Lusophone, and Spanish.
Come and open the door for me quickly. I can't see. Please come quickly.
I can hear my brother there is like really calling for help. So while the help is coming, you know, maybe
the help is there. The help is there. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know how you can, your ears can be so sharp to understand my.
You didn't mute your phone. You didn't mute your mic. Okay.
In fact, the light went off, and I could not be. I could not see anything. So I called so that the light will be put off. And thank you very much to you and our friend and brother Tao for putting all this together and bringing so impressive. We are impressed by the number of partners around the table, and above all, the different proposals, the proposals that have been done that are really very, very interesting to see. What I would like to, I don't know if you see me, but you see me, Anne? No? Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. The first thing that I would like to say, can you hear me, Anne? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you, Ido.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. The first thing is that many of the countries that have been quoted by the different presenters, I thank them very much, fall under our regional office here. I heard a lot about Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ghana, etc. That are countries that fall under us. I'm very happy for that. And I want to take advantage of that to say that yesterday we had a meeting with Boren and all his team to discuss the proposals that we have for the 8 countries that we are covering in terms of education. Proposals that were taken of what the government of these countries have decided to do to save the education system right now. So this was a very interesting meeting because the team of Boren has known what we are expecting, and they are willing to mobilize so that they give us the support needed to take things at country level, because as my 2 colleagues, Dimitri and Salah, have said now, and I also said it, we have to take all this to the country level concretely in terms of action. So we have started yesterday, and we are sure that this is going to be something that on which we are going to work. And I want also to insist on the fact that for the majority, for 2/3 of the learners in our region here, the solution that is the most appropriate is offline solutions, because almost 2/3 of the population of the learners in our region here do not have access to internet. And they are in the rural areas. The radio has been the one that we are using, for instance, in Liberia very actively. But Anne also said it, the limits of the radio is there. Even not all the parents have a radio. So this also has a limit. So offline solutions, and we are really eager to see how all these presenters can help most in offline solutions and solutions that enable us to really reach people that are very behind. Another point I want to mention is that this beautiful dynamic, we know that at least one good thing between brackets that Corona-19 has given to us is that it has opened our eyes on our lacks and the areas of difficulties. For education, Corona has shown us, today we have education at 2 levels. The learners in developed country, they continue to learn. Maybe they will lose a bit of quality of education, but almost all them are learning. In Africa, almost the majority are not learning. So it sees the challenge tomorrow after Corona is how are we going to have more education system that are more resilient to this kind of challenges. And I hope that this beautiful dynamic that we see today with all these partners will continue to be mobilized where after Corona, so that we rethink education in Africa and really bring it in other solutions that will be mainly based on the offer that is on the table today. So this is my wish. And I would like to close, to end by two points. Is that the advantage of COVID-19 to develop the culture of e-learning is there today. That's what we are talking about. In Africa, in our region, from primary to secondary to, and up to higher education, we need to rethink it. So from this point, I would like to ask our partners that one of the requests coming back from the university today in our region of our member state is the virtualization of the Moodle platform and cloud. And on this subject, I think that our partners around the webinar can help to respond to this pressing demand. We have these colleagues from Huawei, Google, and Witong that are there. I listened to their offers. I think that really countries are demanding today at the university level, because the majority of the efforts today from the donors and the partners is focused on secondary education, to some extent to primary. But higher education is a bit weak. That's why Anne was talking about this platform that we have put. There's one on higher education that our office is leading, and we are very soon going to come out with a proposal for another webinar on that very soon. So with this pandemic, the research laboratories within African universities have ceased to function. This also is a fact. We must remind that inside the universities, the laboratories were also closed. So all these are challenges at the university level that we hope we will be able to mobilize. So my last words is that thank you very much for that. The challenge for us regional directors now is to see how this global coalition can have a sense in our region. In our region here, how this global coalition can really continue to be mobilized to support the challenges we have, or the proposal that we have done to help the member countries is our big challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ido, and your yell for help interrupted my commentary to Salah. But I think you have raised some very important points, the two of you, on the language issue. Of course, higher education, I say, is a different cluster. The strategy we have developed includes 4 different clusters, and we are definitely working with Salifu to get that cluster off the ground. Who else do we have? Do we have Gulda with us? No, Gulda did not join. The regional directors, I think that's about it. Let me open the floor for questions. We are still waiting for Microsoft, who should be joining us. I'm not sure whether they are now with us. Is Microsoft there? No. Okay. We'll continue. Oh, my friend Ido really, I think it's muted.
He's shouting.
I will call him. I will call him.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's open for some questions.
Oh, Ido.
Oh, Ido is struggling. Ido, you can mute your mic, or you just turn off the video.
That's what I'm trying.
You are struggling. So you see, we also have to have some training there also for ourselves. I see Igba. Yumiko could not join. Saliu, do you want to put in a word for Igba? Because we've been doing a lot of webinars for teachers, and there is one coming up tomorrow. Yes, Saliu?
Yes, thank you very much, Anne. Unfortunately, Yumiko could not join, but on her behalf, I would like to salute the valuable proposals made by the partners. And these proposals, as you said, offer a range of possibilities that can help have on board or everybody. This to respect the credo or the principle of leaving no one behind. IGBA is looking forward to receiving specific needs expressed by the countries and see how, in collaboration with the regional offices, these needs can be addressed in a concrete way, in a customized way. Because, as you said, there is not one size fits all. So everything must be adapted. But while waiting for that, IGBA will continue its series of webinars. And as you said, tomorrow, IGBA is organizing a webinar with ADEA. And that webinar is exactly focusing on distance learning during COVID-19, but with the use of mixed media, ICT, TV, radio, all those mixed tools that can be used. So I would like really to thank you and looking forward to receiving those tools in order to address those needs expressed by the country. Thank you very much.
Saliu, I think as the meeting went on, we've lost quite a number of our audience. I do not see African Union or IGAD anymore. But if there are colleagues who want to ask questions, as we come to the end, because we've really done almost 2 hours, and it's not going to be an easy thing just continuing. Like we said, this was just an opportunity following the consultations with our partners, both within the UN, with civil society, and also bringing together the private sector and what they have to offer. This meeting would really like to make sure we catalog what's out there, we match it with the needs, and then we really ensure that we have a strategy going down. Like I said, it's not a project, and we are within the UN, so we're supposed to work within the new strategy of the UN to ensure that we work collaboratively. So in this collaboration would also require collaboration among the partners. We are not in competition. We are really going to build upon what already is on the ground, strengthen it, improve upon it for now and beyond. We definitely have to work together because we need to identify what are the kinds of investments that are required. It's been alluded to by Ido as well, that, you know, I mean, most of the governments have the desire, they have the need, express need. They would like you to come with your solutions, but the infrastructure is also weak. So we must have a phased approach where we do a kind of blended intervention and move gradually to upscaling and improving the infrastructure. And that's why the strategy is also looking at investments on internet infrastructure as well as energy infrastructure. I also like the point that has been raised, and we must keep this very, very high on the agenda. We are trying to solve the affected learners the problems of affected learners and teachers, but we also should not forget that there are those who never had a chance to be in school. So the solutions we bring should really be to serve both the affected learners and the out-of-school children. The other issue that has been raised, I'm just trying to close because I feel we have been long in this. The other issue which is important is the capacity building. And this has been underscored even in the strategy that we are not going to bring in new curriculum. We are going to really help with the digitization of the curriculum and help them in improving the teaching of the curriculum. So really the tools are more to build capacity and to ensure that we leave no one behind. There is the added dimension, I don't want to belabor it, but it's very important as raised by Boren. And it is in terms of creating jobs for young people. This is all within the opportunity and issues-based coalition that puts emphasis on employment of young people to really harness the demographic dividend. You really have the population out here in Africa. You want a situation, and since we have a lot of the Chinese friends with us, we don't want to really give them fish. We want to really ensure that they learn how to fish, so that in time when a future crisis comes, because I am of the belief that this pandemic is just the beginning of several other pandemics or disasters. How resilient would we be, and how would we be able to ensure that we have the capacity going forward? So this is a very, very encouraging start. I want to really thank all my colleagues. We've been working day and night, trying to mobilize differently. And the interventions, the solutions cut across the whole range of levels of education, from early childhood up to higher education. And this particular focus is teachers. I like the fact that we have partners that have also identified support for psychosocial welfare of young people. That's also another category. There has been the mention by the SDG for education that even as we plan for this response during COVID-19, we also have to start planning for returning to school. So how do we do this? And with your support, I believe all of this is possible. The immediate next steps. With all these resources, I think there's been a mention by UNICEF, but they had left, and Microsoft, that we should have a hub. And I feel this hub is something that we should dwell upon. The hub where it will be a to-go hub, and it will have all these different resources out there for anybody to really set off access. However, at the country level, we need a more coordinated and consolidated approach to respond to the needs. So we really ensure the democratization of the resources out there for use, access of it, but at the same time, we want to make sure we accompany governments to have a structured approach. We also have heard from the directors that they are ready to go, but they would need partners that would really be able to customize what solutions they are bringing to the needs of the country and the different languages. But I am sure that most of the partners also mentioned that they can really work in a number of languages. All of this is possible, and I believe what we need to do, and I hope headquarters with Boren would work closely with us to ensure that we program the next steps. How do we categorize various needs? How do we ensure the scaling up of what is being offered? And how do we ensure also that there would be continuity after this period? Some have given us up to 6 months, like Coursera had even made a promise to reach as many teachers as they will decide and communicate to us. That this would be very, very good. But really, what we need right now is to continue working collaboratively together. And we would be inviting you in different other spaces to discuss further, meet with university, vice chancellors and faculty. That is coming very soon. Some of you would definitely be there to really engage at that level. It's not one that we will bring to bring you all together at the regional level anymore. Most of what's going to be happening would be at the country level, where you will meet with Ministry of Education, you will meet with UN partners, you will meet with other civil society actors on the ground, but we still need the mobilization of additional resources, financial resources, to put in place the infrastructure. That would be, we start the dialogue now, moving on. It's long term, but we start now to ensure also we contribute to equipment. You know, I mean, like I noticed there are some that have started providing that support. We need more of that, but it won't be fair to say partners will provide everything. Government also has to come on board and really contribute to the investment. We are really also targeting all the countries where GPE would really provide funds right now. So there would be the low-hanging fruit, the GPE-supported countries. We have also got information from European Union that they will be giving support. So what is required of us is to be strategic. Is this approach going to speak to the education response plan at the country level, approved and endorsed by the partners at the country level? Then we will have a smooth sailing. And with that, except if there's somebody who wants to add.
Director, hello.
Okay, somebody, yeah, I just saw a mention that Salah mentioned at the ministerial level. And I think the ministerial level, I would rather we do it at regional, sub-regional level, or what we call the UNESCO regional level. So that way you will have enough time to interact with the ministers, or better yet, do it at the country level. It's really up to how you want to go, but I think, yes, we must talk to the ministers. The reason why I don't want to really preempt anything of a ministerial continental meeting is because this is the purview of the African Union, and they have made it very clear that when it comes to continental convening of ministers, they should take the lead. And they will be coming up with a meeting, and we will feed into that meeting some of these conclusions so that they know that it is happening. Unfortunately, we miss
Director, I have been following.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
African Union, now that I've mentioned African Union, Dr. Mahama, please take the floor.
Thank you, Director. I have been following, but my my internet connection was not good, so that's why I didn't want to step in. But now it's I think it's a lot better, and I'm sure that you pretty much understand, hear what I'm saying. I really want to take this opportunity to thank UNESCO for what you are doing, particularly to ensure that whatever we are talking about is really being translated into implementation at the country level, because that's where it really matters a lot. And from what I have heard so far, I want to just emphasize that the work that you are doing is in line with the policy discourse we are doing at continental level. Clearly, if you take the response that the minister, the bureau of the STC, EST, has agreed with, it's in line. Continue schooling and learning, the planning and preparation for reopening of schools, and of course, learning from member states. And all that is really coming clearly from your meeting with, you know, the different intervention, and of course, the wealth of partners who are here. I want to just reemphasize the fact that it's very, very important that, of course, the partners continue to be mobilized to provide the opportunity and support to countries for continuous learning. The close collaboration with the key partners, UNESCO, of course, UNICEF, and other multi-sectoral partnership, including the education, the Global Education Coalition, to really provide the appropriate support to the EU member states, because it's the only way the member state can really arrive at a situation where they can implement the education response to COVID-19. I want to also emphasize the need to really avoid duplication and, of course, upscaling the good practices. I want to also make an appeal for more coordination of the different efforts. The cluster work initiated by UNESCO, which is very good. I think we can find a way to better line it up with some of the existing CSER cluster and rapidly extend it to all the African region. And I'm glad that to hear that, during the meeting, we are going beyond the Eastern and Southern Africa to include all the region of Africa. And this is really very good. And I think that we should continue to go that way. Of course, the need to document the innovation, the good practices to share among the member states. As I already mentioned, on 30th of April, which means the day after tomorrow, the Commission will be convening the virtual meeting of the Minister of Education, Science and Technology, with the view to really facilitate a comprehensive consensus on education, science, technology, and innovation response in the continent within the context of STI policy and R&D intervention required, and of course, all the aspects concerning the continuity of education on the continent despite the profound disruption caused by the pandemic. So I am sure that UNESCO will probably share its experience, how it's doing with the member state and the partners to ensure that the member states really benefit from those activities. So having said that, I want to again thank you for what you are doing, to encourage you to keep on doing this way and ensuring that we are also kept in the loop so that we know what is going on, and also we can encourage the good practices so that the whole continent can benefit across the different language barriers, etc., etc. So with that, again, thank you, and I think we are on the right way. Let's ensure that we go deep into implementation. Again, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahama. I think you have already just brought it to a neat conclusion, because you have emphasized the importance of ensuring that we have a hub where anyone can really get information of what is happening. You've also emphasized the fact that we are working in a very aligned approach to the African Union strategy for this response. We will continue in that light, but right now I think on the issue of coordination, we would like to make sure that our next steps include the RECs. So our regional directors will be working with the RECs and at the country level. If we can do that, that will be very good. IGAD should have been here. I don't know what happened. IGAD has already lined up itself to work closely with some of the partners. They've been following the various meetings. So really, colleagues, I just want to thank everybody. I believe Boren also would like to say something very quickly. Let me allow Boren also to come in very quickly before we close.
Oh, sorry, and I didn't want to disturb the closing. It's just to mention that for all the global coalition partners, we are sending an intake form that will include information regarding the solutions that they have and all these resources. And that will be, this is a database that can be browsed by the countries, by our partners and by ourselves, and will help also accessing this very rich menu that we have had today. Just sorry to disturb you. Please go ahead.
No, I think that's very good, Boren. I think at your level, you should very quickly with IIT, IGBA, and UNICEF and Microsoft that also made this request to agree on the modality of setting up this information hub. I call it a management information hub, where anybody can go and see what's happening in the different countries at any time, so that we will avoid duplication and we can coordinate better. Then we will also have to have a system of reporting on the outcomes of the various clusters. This one is for teachers and teaching and learning. The cluster on higher education, Salifu is sitting right there and has been working closely with Saba. We will be coming back to you on that very quickly. But then there is also the other bit which you have emphasized, and that is to avoid content that probably is not very responsive to the curriculum at the country level. So how do we ensure that we build the capacity, strengthen countries to be able to deliver on their curriculum and to be able to reach everyone and leave no one behind? So there's a lot of capacity issues that we have to deal with. Digitization of the curriculum. There is the fourth cluster, which is the one on the psychosocial support, and which I also had said would help us with the young people, because at this point in time, we need to give them that support so that they will stay focused. And the support goes also to parents. And it's for that reason, maybe I should share this again with the partners. We were thinking of a platform. Probably this hub that we are looking at, Boren, could also contain a platform that would ensure that we encourage storytelling, which would be the intergenerational learning, parents telling stories to their children and the children writing these stories, and we are able to upload it and use it as competition. Another competition also would be that which is linked to art. And maybe a third, which would be from the TVET. I know this is very dear to your heart. We can link the platform of the competition of the different technical institutions, so that all of that would be out there and we can see where the innovation is, and that can also be linked to the African Union's innovation and competition that they will organize annually.
That I buy, Anne. That I buy.
Yeah, I know you will love that one. Okay. So on that note, colleagues, Tao, you have the last word to close. Since you don't want to say anything.
It's already 2:30, 2:30 a.m. in Beijing with our Chinese colleagues.
So I'm going to close. I'm very sorry. Yeah. This has been so interesting. Tao has been singing and dancing all along, and I believe it's very heartwarming that we were able to have this meeting. We will continue and we'll keep you posted. All of these materials will be made available to all the partners, and it will also inform the hub that we are looking at. That has to take off very fast. Borrell, we have to look at it and make sure that hub comes on very fast. The partners see themselves in the hub, and countries can really go to and learn more about what partners can offer, and we continue working together. On that note, let me thank you all again. I have to continue thanking you. We can never stop thanking you, but we are sure that we are now moving on to the stage of implementation. Have a good evening, stay safe, stay protected.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Stacy. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Tao.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Good night. Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye.